I browse Hacker News. Primarily, it's on mobile. So here on my Android device in the Brave browser. Here, this is just the homepage for Hacker News. I guess this is like the top pages. I don't really know the name for it, but these are the top ranking articles at the time. And for me, a lot of the appeal of Hacker News is actually, though yes, it's the articles to some degree. The articles are just kind of more of an inspiration for the comments, as far as I'm concerned. The main benefit of Hacker News for me is usually the comments. And I'll try going through here, looking at some of these articles to find. So usually here on the homepage or in the listing of new posts, ones that haven't risen to the top yet in terms of rankings. Here there'll be a bunch of just articles of various topics, and usually I'll go through and just read them one by one in terms of the titles and choose which ones sound appealing to me. And if they sound interesting to me, I don't actually visit the article, to be honest. I first visit the comments thread, and if the comments there are interesting, that's great. This behavior of going firstly to the comments is usually just what I do with the posts here on the first page, the homepage. But if I go into the listing of like new articles, then in that case, usually there aren't any comments, and because they are new, if there are any comments, it's kind of like, well, there's probably very few comments. So in that case, I'd probably check out the article first and then leave a comment. But if you view my comment history, you'll see that I don't comment very much. But for the most part, I do use Hacker News on the homepage, and only kind of later on check out the new page when I've kind of exhausted the homepage. But right here, I'm currently on the homepage right now, and even though I looked at it, I swear I looked at the homepage just like 10, 15 minutes ago. In making this video, I loaded up the homepage and I was like, oh, things probably haven't changed too much, so I'll probably just need to go over to the new page and kind of show you what my experience is of that. But it's early in the morning in California, 8:30, and what do you know? The homepage has already changed a decent amount in terms of what articles are available for that are of interest to me. For instance, um, I mean, it's grayed out here. This article here, the one about experience starting a blog, or not article. It's actually a discussion here. But in just loading this up, I realized, oh wow, there's already another like thread essentially of that's of interest to me. So I'm like, oh cool. So I just kind of tap on the comments thing, open up in a new tab. If you're not familiar with mobile Brave browser or like mobile Chromium on Android, when you open it up in a new tab in group, it then goes into a little like area right here. So this is that tab that I just opened. Anyway, usually I'll open it up and I'll go through and I'll just open up kind of which ones of the things mentioned are which of the articles that are of interest to me. I'll open up their discussion pages. So this one actually doesn't even have comments on it yet. The My History of Economic Thought reading list. Um, and I'll open up the discuss page because I'll be interested in like seeing how the discussion plays out. People will probably post some comments to it, and by way of accessing the discuss page, you have very quick access to the favorites button. So I'm gonna just favorite this so that I can return to it later. And this right here, it jumped me over to my list of favorites on my user profile. So I'm not, sorry, I'm not sure if there's a way for me to kind of show you how to access that without like leaking some information. So I'll now check my, but you can access this like favorites area for your user account by way of going to your user profile, and then there's some links. I'll show you that in a sec, I guess. But in this favorites area, you can do submissions right here or comments. So you can also favorite comments. That's kind of one of the main things that I do since I do mostly browse around on comments. So I will now check the user profile area. I don't think I have any private information here that I'm trying to keep from anyone. Let's see. Yeah, so my user profile and my contact info is already listed there, so it's not like I'm really revealing my email. But then there's these links down here. So like upvoted submissions and comments, you'll see that because it's not lightly grayed out, I don't really visit those things like flag comments, or upvoted comments very often. It's more of favorite submissions and oh shoot, favorite comments. And I really like those. They're publicly visible, so I can actually like link you to them. I do that in the description of this video. Anyway, so let's see. I will go back to the home page here and just gonna look at see if there's any other articles here that sound interesting to me. Um, the dubious economics of deep sea mining sounds awesome. Sounds kind of interesting to me, but eh. And oh, cool! This article that I just upvoted just a little bit ago is now back on the top home page. Very cool. Um, so yeah, this is one that I've already favorited, and I'm just kind of watching it play out. The benefit of favoriting is, as I said before, you get to follow threads as they kind of unwind. And if you come to a thread early on, it's probably won't have as many comments as it will a day or two later. Unlike on Reddit, sometimes people are posting a couple days after. I feel like on Reddit, threads die out pretty quick for the most part. Um, Probably depends on which subreddit you're on, though. But okay, now I'll show you like just kind of like the new page listings. So here you're going to see that each of the articles or threads don't really have that much in terms of points yet. They haven't ranked very highly. They're definitely, well, mostly not on the homepage yet. And here it's more hit and miss. I think I have flag things enabled. So flagged tutorial or threads enabled or dead there, like number 25 right here. Um, Number 25, I have those enabled just so that I can kind of see if there happen to be anything, but someone um, flagged it or something. And so on the new page, it is more hit and miss, as I said. And if you look at most of these threads, there's just a discuss link. There's not really even a link to comments yet, because there hasn't been any comments on there. And so just kind of go through here, really just kind of look for keywords usually of things that are of interest to you. So open that up in a tab. And again, the discussion page, firstly. Um, Universities are not on the level. No idea really what that means. Oh boy, in terms of some of these headlines. See. I'm just kind of looking for what things there are that I like that. Hmm. This is great. Okay. Why are tech influencers on Twitter so rude? That's great. Hmm. Well, that's about it at this point, in terms of what's kind of jumping out to me, which is good because I imagine you don't want me to just scroll through here for a bunch of things that you're not interested in. But so just kind of jumping over to this page for the new articles. Let's see. Uh, for this one, I usually just kind of end up favoriting ones that are of interest to me that I might want to just follow for the newer links. Then I'll visit the article, and if I like it, I will return back to the discuss page or to my favorites thing and just upvote it. At this point, not too confident about whether I like it or not, so I will just not upvote it at the moment. Um, this one seems pretty straightforward. You can't be receptive while being defensive. Let's see. Oh boy, there's a lot of text. Uh, yeah, yeah. It's I like the title, but I'm good. And why are tech influencers on Twitter so rude? I really kind of doubt that this is going to lead to a lot of good conversation. Uh, well, actually, just in saying that, I realized maybe there is some reason for it. I imagine that people are going to say something to the effect of like, "Well, the algorithm's biased towards expressions that lead to higher engagement, and rudeness likely leads to higher engagement, and so and people are social animals, so da 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 da, all that sort of thing." So at this point, I'm almost just kind of favoriting that out of some morbid curiosity, just to see if I've got an understanding of kind of how people will be commenting. Um, which goes into kind of some of the personalities that you kind of end up seeing in the comments. Oh yeah, and I'll upvote this as well. Um, You might have noticed that when I return back to the page, the link on favorite still says favorite, um, even though I favorited it and it went onto my favorite list. That's just because I need to refresh the page in order for it to change. So when I refreshed it, you saw that the point value increased to 2 points, and then the favorite link changed to unfavorite. And yeah, so that's just a kind of little minor point of clarification there if you're not used to that interface and that little quirk there that it doesn't just auto update. So let's see. I guess I was going through just browsing, but I can go into how I think about comments. Yeah, let's see. So hmm, let's go into my threads. So this threads area is where each of the like parent like highest level highest level comment here is from you that you yourself have posted. My comments aren't any particularly great thing. As you can see, my karma isn't very high on the site. So if karma is a great indicator of a great signal of item quality. um, anyway, uh, so just on this threads page, this is firstly showing kind of your comments that you've done. So, and then how people have responded. So this one comment that I posted 1 day ago, I actually received a reply. So that's really cool. And then another one here, no reply, but I did get an upvote apparently by someone besides myself. So that's cool. Um, but let's see. A lot of my comments tend to be in response to other people who were original commenters. And what I tend to do when I like a comment or so is I tend to like the one that I like, or sorry, I upvote it. I currently don't have enough karma to downvote, but that's fine. I mean, I don't really feel a need to do that often. Um, but anyway, so if I like a comment, I tend to upvote it. Then I also tend to upvote the parent comment so that I just kind of like reward the full comment thread. Ironically, when I'm discussing this now, I did not do that in this thread, which is pretty funny. Probably just because I mean, I might have just forgotten to do so, but really, this highest level comment is just kind of not really providing a ton of value, even though it ended up providing it ended up inspiring a bunch of discussions and stuff that led to these other things. Um, yeah. So yeah, I like if I find a deep comment, a comment deep in the thread that's valuable. I like to kind of reward the higher levels in the thread, so that because they were instrumental to getting to that like core comment. And that's one thing with Hacker News. The comments can go super deep in terms of like reply levels or reply layers. So like this first comment of mine here at the top, um, that's kind of like the first layer, and then one reply would be the second layer, and they can go. I don't know if there's actually a maximum number of layers, but they can go real deep, and so like that's one reason why they implemented, thankfully, this uh, expand and collapse functionality. So you just tap on this plus minus thing, and it'll collapse the whole thread at that level, at that layer. Here on this page where I'm just looking at my current threads, that's not too important, but like if we go in here where there's looks like I'm at like layer 3 or so, if I go up to like the parent, you can see that on this layer there's a number of replies, and just collapsing them so that you can then just jump to like the next conversation, or like if there's a conversation that just isn't of interest to you, like say like if these ones where people were just mentioning McDonald's or Subway and they had a bunch of replies, you're like nah, because it's not really. I mean, I'll look at their parent. Oh, okay, that's sad. I was thinking that those comments weren't providing much value, but it actually kind of seems like they are, which is kind of funny. But yeah, it's not really that interesting to me. So, um, just using the expand and collapse thing, it is unfortunately a really small tap target on mobile, and on desktop, it's kind of not even like any better. Uh, Thankfully, then you have a mouse, but I don't know if this text was a little bigger, it'd be kind of nice. I know there's a bunch of alternative UIs for Hacker News, but I just like using the default one, so that I get the same experience just about wherever. Let's see, comments. Yeah, so I was mostly talking about, I think, kind of my philosophy surrounding that I really enjoy finding comments on Hacker News. And so I'll go into my favorite comments area. And the reason why I like some of these comments is like not always very clear. Uh, Usually not very clear at all. But there's reasons why I like them. So like this one actually just reminded me of a podcast episode that I just listened to, and so I actually just I saved this, but then I also saved a link of it to my personal notes in Obsidian. But just the whole thing about complexity warnings in your code, like automatically checking. Anyway, the main thing is that it related to something personally and something that I want to remember or just have more accessible to me. And then same sort of thing for this one. There's something about the comment that I liked. One sad thing is that I admit that I actually like favorite a lot of comments, and there's probably a lot of great stuff in here, but I never really go through and do anything with them, and so like that's kind of unfortunate. One thing that I've done in realizing this, not just right now, I've thought about this for a while, but um, one thing that I've done is I've started taking more notes in like Obsidian, just personal notes with links to those comments, and then kind of archiving the parts of the comment that I liked, and kind of writing down a reason for why I liked it, so that I can kind of probably come back to it later on uh, and make use of it in a certain way. So I realize like showing you the comments that I've liked probably doesn't pertain well to you and like what your interests are. Um, but just kind of want to show that there is quite a variety of reasons why you might like favorite comments and stuff. Um, for instance, like this comment and this comment, these were this one in particular really brought to mind that they're calling out a concept of something that I've been thinking about recently. So I'm like, oh, awesome! Someone's like like they've put some additional mind towards some idea that I've been thinking about, and so saving that and then like saving it to my notes so that I can kind of go through it another time is really cool. It's really interesting. There's a ton of really smart people on this forum. Not trying to pat myself on the back or anything in terms of like, oh yeah, I'm on there, but it's just like, no, like you're reading comments from a bunch of people, and you're like, dang man, you're thinking about this like way more intensely than I am, than I have, or even like we're on the same level, that sort of thing, or or there's also just the benefit of where say you are a subject matter expert, you're an expert in some domain, and someone's asking a question as kind of a beginner. They're like, oh, I think it's this or that way. um, you as the expert in coming to it, and you're like, you get exposed to those different perspectives, and you can even post a comment and clarifying and demonstrating your expertise and such. And it's those sorts of things that make the site so cool for information. And that right there, the utility of it as like a source of information about certain things leads me into a completely different kind of topic, and that is searching the site, searching the comments in particular, but also searching just kind of searching the thread listings, just the general threads or articles, that sort of thing. Um, Searching through Hacker News is such a fantastic resource for finding information about whatever. Um, about, I mean, I'm assuming that you are a Hacker News user or browser. So kind of like the topics that tend to come up, especially let's see, it's 2024 now, January. Um, so a lot of the topics that have been coming up are still Chat GPT, um, very hot. I've only recently started getting into it. There's been a ton of hype on Hacker News, so I've just been kind of like, yeah, okay, guys, because they, like there's a lot of enthusiasm for crypto as well, and that kind of fizzled out for a bit. So there's these trendy things, hype, and all that that come up, but then there's also very like evergreen topics that come up, like startup marketing, software development. Like I'm not even a software developer, and yet, but I work with software, and I do make some scripts, and I'm kind of more interested in getting into software development, and being around this community, being kind of submerged in it of people like making tools and such, super beneficial. It just exposes you to a lot of questions and stuff that you would have no idea. You probably like it's like being able to sit down with a wise monk or Zen master, a real pro, getting to hear from them and hear what they want to say too, because all of their comments are hopefully voluntarily written. um, there's some inside scoops too sometimes. Oh man, and just in terms of expert stuff, like a lot of times there will be every once in a while discussions about like space and space colonization, space travel, um, space research, things like that, where it's like, like we're literally talking about things outside of our planet. So, like, what a kind of, I don't know about esoteric, but like, what a interesting, like, you really have to try to find people for that. But, dude, I mean, these posts and these threads, people that have worked at NASA, who work at NASA, who are deep into like PhD level studies of these topics, like they'll come out of the woodwork posting things and be like, oh yeah, like they'll be giving you the real as far as as a non-expert, as far as I can tell, uh they'll be giving you like the real information about like how things were being made, and controversies, politics, which is I'm not into that stuff too much, but just hearing about these like human concerns that come up in a field where you're like otherwise just trying to do like logical work, you're like hearing that stuff is cool. And sorry, just circling back to like NASA and all that, the super technical stuff, it's wild. Like just hearing about how someone who worked on some very specific part of discussion that for whatever reason is being discussed as being a very essential element of a thing. It's uh, some matter under discussion, like such as like the whole thing of like the O ring degradation or whatnot, that led to that explosion. I was really young at the time, so forgive me for not knowing the name of it, but for that one expedition. Anyway, just like people who, in that case, if there was a discussion surrounding that, people would come in and they're like, "Oh yeah, man, I've worked on uh, engineering like O rings and material science and such like that." And they'll get like deep into it, and of course, as like a non-expert, you're like, "Whoa, cool!" But then a whole other expert, completely unrelated. They may have never talked before, that sort of thing. They'll come out of the woodwork too and respond to them and be like, they'll be agreeing, they'll be adding on information, they'll be like, oh, like we did this other method, why'd you choose such and such and such and such. Hopefully it doesn't get too critical, like negative on a personal level. I think that Hacker News is pretty good about not being too um, kind of like personal attack y. Um, in part because if you do that, the community usually just sees it and like will downvote you to oblivion if you have sufficient karma, such as I don't. Um, uh, but oh shoot, that was a whole digression about just the value of comments. So, but let's go into just kind of looking up comments about a topic that you're interested in. So if you go onto like I think it's at the bottom of every page really, but I just wanted to go to a shorter page because the other one had a lot of content on it. Um, if you go to like the front page, there's a search bar down here. Oh, some suggestions from things that I've searched for, not on Hacker News, strangely enough, but on other places. So these are video game names. That's funny. Anyway, let's see. Trying to think of a topic that would be kind of helpful. Um, well, okay. So recently I've been interested in like learning more about like how to actually use GitHub and like its project management features. So let's just put that in there. Project management. And now that I see it, there isn't actually a search bar, a search button, which might be kind of a bad thing UI wise. But yeah, you just hit enter and then it'll search and it pops you over to another service, which you can see here in the URL bar up here at the top, that it says uh, hn.algolia. Algolia is like a search provider, and I think that they're a YC company, so they're affiliated with the company that hosts Hacker News. So anyway, when you first search, it defaults to searching through the stories, and that's the general just name for the highest level of the thread. So like the articles that have the discussion pages and such. And uh, not to say that's bad. Like in fact, this one actually sounds pretty interesting. We'll see what that has to do. Um, as I said before, I'm not super interested in the stories usually because like titles are pretty hit and miss. It's not super indicative of like what will be discussed ultimately. It shoot. Um, yeah, so really, I'll usually go into this drop down here and select comments. Oh, cool! I didn't realize that you're able to filter it down to Ask HN entries, Show HN, that sort of thing. That's cool. But so yeah, you'll just type in whatever your subject is that you're interested in, and be able to search through comments for relevant discussions. I feel bad that I don't have a good use case right now. Project management doesn't seems to be coming up with a lot of like job postings and such. So let's see, SKHN. Okay, and SKHN. Those are threads where it's all about discussion, and so the main title is a question that's being posed to the community, and usually there will be at least some comments on them. I don't know. They don't always get to very high point values though. So, but So for the current case of like wanting to learn more about GitHub project management, not super useful. So let's see if I can add in beginners. You can see that as I added that in, it updated the search as I typed. So let's see. Book is written with beginners in mind, so that's cool. Not totally clear that this is exactly kind of what I was looking for in terms of like looking for to learn, but I mean, you get the idea. The unfortunate thing is, just in this example, I'm not quite sure of what to look up, but uh, things will things do come up. A lot of the time, that's really useful to me actually. Now that I think about it, is I will be writing down some notes in my own personal notes, and I'll remember, oh, there was a comment about such and such. Um, and I'm like, I probably saw it on Hacker News, and I won't remember when it is. And let's say that I've already searched through my personal notes. They're all digital, so I can search them really easily. And I'm not finding it, so I'm like, okay. So then I would come over here and really just start typing in whatever words that I can kind of remember from it, like when I Google for a song whose lyrics I kind of remember. You know, you really just type it in whatever words you kind of remember from it. Mostly keywords, filler words like is and such. You might want to just drop. Um, might be too restrictive. I mean, you probably know all about searching and such. But let's see. Okay, yeah, this is a good one. So like personal websites. This is a good way of just kind of finding discussions about personal websites, especially if you're building one these days, as I've been kind of like looking at. Um, so yeah, I mean, like really just putting in whatever thing. I essentially just gave you like kind of a run through of using a search engine. Now I feel dumb, but yeah, usually it's for like finding a comment that you remember, or even like in browsing Hacker News over time, you'll get exposed to kind of how people discuss things and the topics that they discuss. And when you're going through and like thinking of something, you're like, I'm pretty confident that someone would have griped, complained about such and such on Hacker News. And a lot of the time when someone complains, someone else will pop in and be like, "Oh man, don't worry." Like they're trying to flex on you essentially. They're trying to impress, or also really just be helpful. Honestly, like not just flex, and provide some help, or provide some clarifying information or questions and that sort of thing. So if you have an idea and you're getting the feeling like, I feel like Hacker News might have something on this, search it, try it. One thing that I really like, is that like here I use the Brave browser. So um, what I can do is I can do the hashbang searches. Um, so if you do like exclamation point HN, and then just put in whatever keyword you want. Let's see, blogging, SEO, and then hit enter. It will just bounce you right over to this the search for that through the HN search. Um, so I do that every once in a while. Um, oh, sounds cool. Blogging. That is a 10-year-old blog post though, so that probably doesn't even exist anymore. especially since it's from a URL that I have never heard of before. Well, then, that is a great situation where you look at the comments, figure out what was kind of going on then. And then, honestly, if you're looking at the comments and you're like, yeah, this seems like it was a good article, then you could bounce over to archive.org and look up the archived version of that post from around when this was posted. But uh, and then going into the comments again. Shoot, I digressed. I was going over. Hmm. Oh, just like how I quickly search. So I tend to search uh, Hacker News like every once in a while, probably at least once or twice a month, which probably doesn't sound like a lot, but in terms of I tend to get quite a bit of value out of it. It's great. It's a really great resource. And as I showed you before, uh, I favorite a lot of posts and comments. Um, yeah. So I get a lot of value out of it. Well, actually, I technically couldn't show you how much I favorite them because they don't actually show you a counter of how many comments and how many submissions that you've actually favorited. But man, it'd be a lot. And there isn't really currently a good way of archiving what you've got, like extracting a full backup of all the things that you've favorited in terms of submissions or as comments. But man, I would totally do that if I could, and then like run some text analysis on that, or so that I could do something so that I can search it. That'd be wonderful. Like just searching through an individual user's favorited comments or submissions. Ah, that'd be dope. But currently, I don't think you can do that. Someone will probably end up developing it. I think someone figured out how to produce like RSS feeds for like favorited submissions, but I don't think they produced it for comments. Um, Vaguely remember asking about that on like the GitHub repository for that project. I don't know. But anyway, great community. I recommend checking it out. Um, Hit me up at some of these locations if you want to. And I hope that you enjoy this video. And if you have any recommendations for how, or if you want to share how you use Hacker News and how you think about its different features, please do share it. I would love to see it. I imagine Hacker News would love it as well. Have a great day. Bye.